So let's talk about manually adjusting for time. The manual adjustments for time in Pro Tools are usually just literally either copy, paste, or cut, paste. They might even be separate and slide. And so I'm going to go over a couple of those real quickly. The goal is to really align things without the use of any automated process like quantizing. Sometimes this is really one of those things that has to be done in a way where visually, both visually and audibly, it aligns most effectively. And that sometimes, depending on what kind of takes we're using, that can actually be done very well with quantizing. So for a good example, vocals are typically tend to be something that are difficult to quantize. I'm going to be showing off a session called Paint the World, and this one actually has background vocals in it, and they're in groupings. And so if you look off to the left over here, we have different groups. You can see we have purple, blue, red, and green. So we have 4 different vocal stack groups. And this was of a performance of a group vocal in the studio. So probably about 12 different people standing in a huddle singing. And so for each one of these groupings, there's multiple individuals on these takes. And so it's not as easy as just saying, one track only represents one voice. And so unfortunately, because it represents so many different voices, it makes it kind of hard to track or to kind of keep track of. What I'm going to do real quickly is work out a little bit of this color coding in here so you can kind of maybe differentiate a little bit better. And let's do... I don't know if I'll do these the right way. There we go. And let's get these ones to be... That way we can keep track of some of these because they're kind of starting to mix. There we go. All right. Just to kind of make it a little easier to keep track of who's who. I just wanted to make some adjustments to the color coding. Okay, so this first group, you can see if we zoom into these, you can see a little bit of a difference between these. And what I always promote is look at the vertical, look at the grid, and where the grid downbeats are. You can see them pretty clearly. But keep an eye on the vertical across everybody. So if we really start to look at, where is everybody in this at the front end of these, you can see that some entrances are a little bit more on and some of them are off. And not all of them, as we start to stack in certain areas, are in. So like over here about midway, we see every group in, but they all have a little bit of a different look. And so our goal in order to polish them up is to make them sound pretty tight together, which a lot of times means tightening up the front end and the back end, and maybe even sliding them based upon that. So it's kind of an easy first move, of course, is to push play and take a listen.
Love enough for me. Love enough for you, love enough for me, love enough for you.
So the entrance of the note as well as the end of the note are super important here. So you can kind of see that we have a little bit more of a swelling to this section here coming off on the second take versus this first. They should be landing together though, so let's take a listen to what's happening right here. So we can kind of see that there's a wind up to it. Let's see how much we can get away without. So I'm actually going to highlight, hit delete, and do a Command F. So hover over and just Command F.
Love enough, love enough.
And then the goal is to figure out how much we have to slide back. And so I'm just trying to kind of piece together, okay, how much do we have to slide back, and where's that starting point?
Love enough for me, love enough.
And if, again, we're looking at the vertical, so if we're looking at the vertical, you can see some changes here. So notice how quickly we get to the height of the attack here, not so much here. And so sometimes we have to say, okay, well, if I'm looking at this one, it's going slower than the previous one. What we might want to do, kind of an easy way to make sure this transition is nice and healed, it is copy, slide over to the left, paste, try to get it to land a little bit more in line with this one. Let's try it even a little further, and let's take a listen.
Love enough, love enough, love enough for me. Love enough for me. Love enough for me.
Okay, and we can crossfade that, and even though we have like a duplicated region, a lot of times just it very smoothly adjusts right here in this section. Okay, so we're checking that out. Let's go take the next section.
For me.
And then a lot of times we're looking at, is there any hitching in the down? And so what I'm going to do is kind of blow up this waveform to hear the down. I hear a little bit of at the very end. Let's see which one it is. And actually this one's running down here, so let's get these out. It's in both. Alright, that's fine. Now the good news is that reverb should give us, we don't have reverb on it now, but reverb should give us a nice tail here once we add it.
Love enough for.
So it's kind of nice to crop those off a little tight. You can see here's the new wind up for the next section. This was a really strong start for both sections. Let's listen to it.
Love enough for you.
And again, we're trying to watch these transition points. They should kind of, for the most part, align down the way. We should see these starting points kick off around the same time. So far, they're pretty close. Again, coming out, getting that ooh on the way out, transitioning that roll up back in.
Love enough for me.
All right, now, before we even do this next one, we really have to add that next group in. Let's take a listen, because you can see they're not all kicking off at the same time now. This one, you can tell, has a discrepancy, and these ones on the side shouldn't have any audio at all. But now that we're bringing this next group in, we have to kind of figure out, are they late? Like, what's the deal? If we start from here, what does it sound like?
Love enough for, love enough for.
Okay, that's good. We see the kind of majority of them are kind of really starting over here. So I'm going to delete that so we can work our fade in right here.
Love enough for me.
Oh, there's a little bit of movement, and some of it's pitch. So the pitch stuff we have to deal with in a different way, but the timing, we really want to align it. It'll help some of what we're doing in our pitch stuff. So one of the big rules that I use a lot of times is like we look at the vertical first before we worry about tuning. And the reason why is because when we move or slide anybody in timing land, the tuning will be adjusted based upon who's moving when. So we have to be real careful to make sure nobody moves early or nobody moves late. Everybody's moving together so that they always sound in tune. Because as soon as one group of stacked tracks starts to move soon or prematurely, then it starts to detune, create discourse in the actual note. So let's take a look in the middle here.
Enough for me. Enough for me.
You can see down here in the green we're having an issue on that transition. It's too soon.
For me.
Let's take a listen to that one real quick.
For me.
And I think what it is in the note, everybody's coming down, do, 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 and moving somewhere else. And that one's kind of tighter. It's not. So it's kind of going straight to the note. And so the F is coming out faster.
For me.
And if the beginning and the end, the beginning's too early, but if the end lines up, then we're just going to shuffle the end.
For me.
So one easy way to do that is we're going to go ahead and cut it. We can use Command X. We could also use Command E to slice it. The difference is if we use Command X and we drop it off over here, we may end up sliding it back, or making adjustments to it, and we typically get a gap left over, which is fine. In this instance, as long as we ballparked it pretty well. Let's take a listen to this.
For me.
Don't worry about this yet, because we're going to fix it.
For me.
We'll get a nice...
For me.
We just want those to line up. So this one I'm not going to worry about as much. I'm not going to cut everybody out of this one. I'm just going to try to get that transition to sound right. I want to line up on this part.
For me, for me, for me.
Somebody's a little late too, so let's take a listen.
For me, for me, for me, for me.
Yeah, you can see it a little bit more up here. Sounds like it's not the start, it's the not the F, it's the note.
For me, for me, for me, for me.
And it might just be as easy as sometimes, depending on what's happening. It might be as easy as copy pasting over.
For me, for me.
And what happens is we're copying. It's the F is going to O, but while it's doing that, it's going for, and when it's doing that shift, it's going, the O is too late, and so we're just copying the O, the second O, sliding it a little closer so it sounds like it kicked off at the right time with the rest of the group.
For me.
And then take a look at the end.
For me. For me.
Yeah, there's a little more energy at the end. I don't actually mind it so much. So I don't really necessarily have to have them all because it's got a little bit more juice than the other ones. I like that. I like that it kind of changed.
Love it.
But I do want them tightened up a little bit. And then again, same issue here, that the L launch on this green. And sometimes this is also the last pass of this group. So sometimes it literally could just be the fact that they sang it for a bunch right before this, and then they were ready to go this last time. So they're a little anticipating all the moves. This one I'm going to do a little differently because I already have the front end cut off. I'm just going to drop a point here in the middle, hit Command E, and then just slide it over and try to get that alignment to feel right here at the front end.
Love, love, love.
And if we're close, we're just going to lock this in, get the fade, crossfade right here. I need it a little bit wider than normal. I feel like when we're with group vocals, because there's a lot of movement.
Love enough for you. Love enough for you.
Ugh, I mean, there's a lot of pitch problem.
Love enough for you.
Right here in the middle. On that enough.
Love enough for you. Love enough for you.
Sometimes in the group it'll work, but sometimes if it's just one person moving in the group, you're not going to be able to get rid of it if they're in the track. But what I'm looking at right now is I'm looking at, like, there's these little blips. And you can see one there, and you can see one there. There's one here. There's actually a couple here. I'm assuming it's this one. I'm looking for the in and enough. Okay, so let's find the in and enough and see if that's the problem. Let's start with the first one.
Enough.
So we're seeing it a couple times here. Seems like the heart of it's right here in the middle, right? Now the biggest question is who's right. So let's listen to the whole pass.
Love enough, love enough, love enough, love enough, love enough, loving, 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 loving.
So there's two ends, love in and then enough. So it's kind of like there's two separate ones happening at the same time. And I'm assuming this is
enough, enough,
front end of
enough,
enough. So let me take a look at these guys real quick. Because this part doesn't sound terrible, I don't think, the front end. It's the one right before it, if we look at everybody going down the lane. And I could hear, it sounds like some of them are slightly off. So if I make the yellow in the bass line, I'm going to add them in and figure out who's out. Just taking a listen to that note. Okay, my assessment of that situation is that both of these are either early or they're late. They could be either one. I'm going to copy paste and slide them, pretending that they're late, and then highlight and listen to the whole section real quick. And the result is, sounds like they're early. So instead, I'm going to look for that little blip right there. and see, or at least this one. You know what? It might be both. Let's see. This one. Let's try this one up. Okay, so that one I'm okay with. So I'm just going to do a batch fade, highlight, hit Command F. It's this high one that's out now. And again, the green one had been, this higher part had been early for pretty much everything. So I'm going to anticipate that it's also early here. It looks like the starting point seems fine. I mean, actually, I'm sorry. It is a little early. So I'm actually going to slide a bunch of things. So I'm going to hit Command C. I'm going to copy. I'm going to paste and try to get this gap right here to line up a little better. You can see where everybody's gapping right there. Everybody's gapping good. That's a bit better. This is still a little off from what I see. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to hit Command E. I'm going to slide it over until I'm happy with that position. Maybe listen to it and then slide the front end back. So notice the tune just changed in terms of the tuning when I was here versus sliding back just a little bit more. And we really want it to gel, so we don't want it to sound separate. So I'm going to try to slide this back and see. I'm going to batch fade this and see how close we can get. We might be kind of messy with so much repetition in that high part. Let's take a listen.
Love enough for you. Love enough for you.
Oh yeah, now we're there. So what we're seeing here is this manual adjustment for time requires getting in the thick of it. The tighter you pull these, a lot of times the cleaner and more polished you're going to feel. After a while, it does get too tight. So it depends on how big, we need a big spacious left, right, we're going to have to make adjustments. The other thing you're not hearing here, something that we could do to kind of give you a sense of this is let's pull one group far left, let's pull another group far right, let's pull one group mid left and another one mid right. And the reason I say that is because they're not really going to stay in their panning position this way, but this might help us hear some of what's going on right there.
Enough for you. Enough for you. Enough for you.
Now at this last one, you can hear the notes falling down. They're trailing down a little too fast. Somebody's coming out too fast. Let's listen to where they are. Now listen to them. Are they left or are they right? Someone who's coming down too quick. So from what I'm hearing, it sounds like they're more left. So the options are either yellow or red is going to be our culprit. I would imagine it might be red because red represents a later pass, which means people are anticipating what's happening versus slowly reacting to it because they've done it more. Let's take a listen and find it. Yeah, it's actually yellow, surprisingly, and it's just right here at this. And it's just a touch early. So what I'm going to do with it, and I can see it. If you look at the bulk of what's happening here, you can see it is all early. I'm going to copy it. I'm going to slide it down a little bit, see how far I can get away with it. Now the final note is pretty wrong. Like it sounds like it's pretty flat. But that's not the biggest issue. The biggest issue really is more the timing because we can tune most of that and lock it with the rest. Let's see what we got.
Love enough for me. Love enough.
Now again, once we add reverb, we're going to get a lot of the life back, so it's okay that it's kind of cut up in this instance. And if we kind of go back up here, this is where that section's starting at the bridge. And there is something happening underneath here, so we could probably figure out what that is at this play and then cut to the bridge.
Put that in the song. Ah.
All right, a little bit of talking going into that bridge. Here we go.
Love enough for me, love enough for you, love enough for me, love enough for you, love enough for me.
Okay, now from here we can chop those up in the same way, but you kind of see how this process works. We're kind of cleaning everybody's front end. We're adjusting manually for time. We're looking at specific positions. When it comes down to instrument by instrument, a lot of times we're just trying to figure out where they are, how they align with the grid. And that's it. The cleaner we can get it, the more we can well establish the tuning and the harmonics